Welcome back to Tabletop Salt. I'm Ross, and today I'm going to continue my analysis of the Chaos Space Marine Codex. Now I know it's been a while. I think when they dropped, the Codex dropped, I originally sort of did my analysis on warlord traits, stratagems and everything, and then I continued with my segments on Adeptus Mechanicus. Well, now it's time to return to the ruinous powers. Today we're going to start off big. We're going to go with Abaddon the Despoiler. So yeah, good way to start with one of the biggest guys for the Chaos Space Marines. How this is going to go is that I'm basically going to do a beginning lore talk on Abaddon. Now, he is a character that's been around for a long time, with a lot of books and a lot of lore, so I can't say I'm anywhere close to a master. I'm sure many people will comment when I'm wrong. But please do, because keep me right, but it's just to give you a bit of flavour about him. Next I'll probably look at his stats and his war gear along with special rules. After that I will be looking at Legion traits. Now obviously he's only got one that you can choose, but talk about that in a wee bit of detail. His warlord traits, psychic abilities that work well with him, stratagems that work well with him, and then a wee bit of conclusion, which will be my personal feelings towards him, and also what I sort of hope for the future from Abaddon, because, you know, there's much discussion about him at the moment. Well, not at the moment, but there has been, essentially, with the sort of going forward of 40k at the moment. So let's begin with sort of a bit of the lore talk on him. So we're going to begin with one of the big names of Chaos, Abaddon the Despoiler, once known as Ezekiel Abaddon back in the 30k days. War Master of Chaos and Commander of the Black Legion. A terror upon the Imperium since the Horus Heresy, and once the favoured son of the Primarch of the Sons of Horus. He was extremely loyal to Horus, which led him to join his Primarch in the rising against the Imperium, though I'm sure the madding influence of Chaos probably didn't help either. It really ruined Horus, but probably had a bit of an impact on Abaddon as well, I'm assuming. Since the Heresy, he has begun leading the Black Legion and gathering Chaos forces and unleashing them in his violent Black Crusades, 13 in total, each achieving a purpose to hopefully destroy the Imperium and I imagine use the talon of Horus to shred the Corpse Emperor apart. As I said, I cannot lie, I can't fully explain the full brutal history of Abaddon. There's plenty of places online to look up, you know, the lore of this truly terrifying warrior. He played an important part in the Horus Heresy, taking place in events such as Esteban III, the Drop Site Massacre, hopefully they're not the same thing and I'm getting that totally wrong, and of course the Battle of Terra. Eventually arriving on the Vengeful Spirit and finding his beloved Primarch dead, took up his the Talon weapon and retreating from Terra to the Eye of Terror. Pretty sure he also took the body of Horus as well. After the Heresy, Abaddon went through a quiet period before beginning to gather his forces, not into a ragtag group of raiders, but into a brotherhood, a legion, his infamous Black Legion. Abaddon then distanced himself from his Primarch. I think he proclaimed Horus a failure and looked to build something new. Abaddon found favour with each of the Chaos gods and is said to have a freedom that many others can't claim. Not many others can claim. With this has brought him great power and influence. Few, if any, can claim such a feat. He would then unleash his Black Crusades, great expeditions from the Eye of Terror, often bringing untold havoc upon the Imperium and real space in general. He would acquire the Demon Sword. Excuse me for the pronunciation, I'm going to probably really destroy this. Dracnian? Yep. A fearsome weapon that increased his power and truly marked him as the War Master. As far as I'm aware, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was acquired in his first Black Crusade, and later in his further crusades he acquired the fearsome Blackstone fortresses, which play a very important part later on. During this time and with the untold chaos he's brought, he's been offered demonhood a couple of times from each of the Chaos gods, and I believe each time he has refused them. Finally we come to the 13th Crusade. Abaddon has managed, I believe, to impress the 4 Primarchs that fitted the Chaos gods and earned their favour and much aid and followers, However, I'm going to assume that he probably, you know, sort of spoke to all the Primarchs and got a bit of help. I mean, like, I can't imagine he couldn't have got help, you know, he couldn't have not got help from Porto Rabo and his siege equipment. But I'm a huge Porto Rabo fan. I just want him to sort of, you know, help out more and be in 40k, because I really like Porto Rabo. Anyway, that's me being a little bit biased. He plunged his forces in vengeance into the fortress world of Cadia, as it was a powerful fortress holding back the true potential of chaos. After much bitter and bloody fighting, Abaddon eventually flung one of his Blackstone fortresses into the planet's surface, pretty much devastating it. This caused Necron pylon defences to fail, which had been holding back the Eye of Terror to allow a massive expansion. All these actions and more brought the Great Rift, which now tears the Imperium almost in half. Yeah, so he basically brought around the Great Rift, which tore apart the Imperium in half. And not many people are a fan of being, you know, so far away from Terra. All this moves him towards his ultimate goal of invading the heart of the Imperium and destroying the Emperor of Mankind. So, you can judge me if you thought that wasn't a very good synopsis of Abaddon. Again, as I said, the character has been around for a very long time, since I started playing 40k, and he's had countless books and stories, and possibly retcons as well, though I can't quote on that one. Again, if I've got anything wrong, or if you think there's any other cool moments in Abaddon's story that defines him, please let other viewers know. He's got a rich history behind him, and he has done much. So let's go into his sort of rules. So to begin with, we're going to look at his stats, his war gear, and then his specific abilities. So Abaddon has movement 6, so as an infantry character he's pretty average. Considering he's in Terminator armour, that's pretty good. An extra inch of movement, pretty nice. Weapon skill 2, ballistic skill 2, as you'd expect, he is going to hit pretty reliantly, which is excellent. He's strength 4, which I would have loved for him to be strength 5, and he's easily actually strength 5 through his weaponry. But you know what, after all, he is kind of like a Space Marine, so strength 4 does make sense. He is toughness 5 though, and I can only say that's probably due to favour from our favourite grandfather, Nurgle. So he's toughness 5, which is better than Space Marine, not as good as same as Plague Marine, so he does have a bit of endurance. He has 7 wounds, which is obviously also nice. Again, a bit of endurance will keep him going. 6 attacks, so plenty of attacks to play with, and potential of more, but we'll get to that later. Leadership 10, yep, you'd expect that, and a 2+ save. He is armed with the Drachnian, basically his Demon Sword. I might refer to his Demon Sword quite a number of times in this, because I'm going to really destroy the pronunciation of it. But he's armed with Drachnian and the Talon of Horus. So what do these do, these weapons? Well, Talon of Horus was originally the weapon from his Primarch, which he took off his dead body and starts using it himself. Which is cool, you know, he's sort of strolling around with a fist that probably is far too large for him, but then again, so are a few people. So Talon of Horus has a shooting ability, is range 24, rapid fire 2, strength 4, -1 AP and D3 damage. Interesting weapon, it is only strength 4, but to have a -1 AP but D3 damage at rapid fire means he's putting out 4 shots that potentially can do D3 damage on light armoured sort of multi-wound creatures. That can be a problem. Orc knobs can rightfully fear this weapon because, you know, in rapid fire it's going to cause a bit of problems. I'll get to ways you can synergize that better. However, you know, Horus really just proves himself more in combat. I'll begin by discussing the other function of Talon of Horus, which is his melee capabilities. So as a melee weapon, it times his strength by 2, which makes him strength 8, which is awesome. Is -3 AP and D3 damage. Now, good thing about that, it does not have the sort of usual for power fists -1 to hit. Nope, he's still hit on 2s. Excellent. Strength 8, -3 AP, D3 damage. Excellent. Now it'll get interesting when we talk about his demon weapon, Drachnian. Yep, is that it's also a melee weapon. +1 strength, -3 AP and D3 damage itself. So again, it's -AP and damage is the same, but it's only +1 strength, so it's only going to make strength 5. However, Roll a d6 each time Abaddon the Despoiler fights. On a roll of 1 he suffers a mortal wound and cannot use this weapon further during this phase. Not ideal. On a roll of a 2+, he can make that many additional attacks with this weapon. So it's important to note that, you know, so that's d6 extra attacks on top of his 6, he can potentially have 6 attacks, which is awesome. How you want to really use, considering this melee sort of layout, is that you earn your right to just use 6 attacks with the Talon of Horus and shred people up with that, and then you just get d6 additional with his demon weapon. So you're always gonna, you don't have to dedicate 1 attack with the demon weapon. You just get an additional d6. So yeah, that's awesome. So you've got your reliable 6 attacks and then an additional d6. 12 attacks. Awesome. Cool guy. What can we say? Now this where we get some extra stuff with Abaddon is his special abilities. So we have Death to the False Emperor, which as we discussed is basically against Imperium forces. If you roll a 6 to hit, you get an additional attack. Great if you're fighting Imperium, everything else not so great. But it just means that, you know, we know Death to the False Emperor, don't forget it. But there's a way to also augment that as well. Mainly his Warlord trait and other spells, which can make him more attacks, more devastating. He has the War Master. If your army is battle forged and Abaddon is your Warlord, kind of why wouldn't he be? You receive 2 additional command points. Command points for basically bringing Abaddon, sure, why not? You know, if you want to make like, you know, another character your Warlord, I can't imagine why, but you know, you might. There might be some Primarchs kicking about, but hey, Abaddon brings you 2 command points. Cool. Dark Destiny. Abaddon the Despoiler has a 4+ invul save, just making him that more resilient. Absolutely love it. In addition, all damage suffered by Abaddon the Despoiler is halved, rounding up. I believe some Space Marine characters have this. Could be, I won't mention any names, but essentially that rounding down of damage will keep him in the fight a little bit longer. He already has 7 wounds, rounding damage in half just in case someone tries to charge him and then has like 6d6 wounds and cause a lot. That's only going to be 3, and hopefully you get to attack back and cause some damage. With his 4+ invul as well, makes him kind of hard to bring down. Lord of the Black Legion. You can reroll any failed hit rolls for friendly Black Legion units that are within 6 inches of Abaddon the Despoiler. Very, very good. So you'd expect that really from Abaddon. It's a bit of a shame that it's just Black Legion units, but it does make sense, and because that's kind of generally how it works for most characters. But allowing those reroll failed to hit rolls in both shooting and in combat does mean that he's important, that you probably want a wee bit of synergy around him, whether it be a case of you drop him with Terminators with Plasma, supercharge them because it's a lot more reliable, or keep him behind with like 2 units of Havocs and you just get a lot more firepower. You can do that if you want. There's a lot more options. Reroll sets are awesome. Mark of Chaos Ascendant. Friendly Heretical Status units automatically pass morale tests while they are within 12 inches of Abaddon the Despoiler. So that's not just Black Legion, that is all friendly Heretical Status. So you don't need to worry about morale. Very, very handy. And finally, Teleport Strike. During deployment you can set up Abaddon in Teleportarium Chamber instead of placing him on the battlefield. At the end of any movement phase you can use Teleport Strike to arrive on the battlefield. Set him up anywhere on the battlefield that's more than 9 inches away from enemy models. You want Abaddon in people's face. Now 2 most reliable ways to do that are of course Teleport Strike or possibly a Land Raider to sort of survivability. There may be a few Forge World stuff that are options, but I'm not going to discuss them. You know, so you kind of want him to go in there, probably Teleport Strike with a good retinue, that's what I'd recommend. Possibly Terminators, as I said, with Plasma, unleash a volley of fire, and then hopefully get him in for charge and rip things apart. There's a couple of ways to make that more reliable. Key thing to note, I'd probably say, is that his faction words interestingly have Chaos, Khorne, Nurgle, Slaanesh, Tzeentch, Heretic Stars and Black Legion. He has got all the key words of the Chaos Gods, basically all the marks. Very, very important. It gives him a lot more options later on. So yeah, that's cool. He's got, that was faction keywords, there's also other keywords as well. I won't really go into them in detail. I mainly wanted to mention faction ones because they mention him having all 4 marks. So let's go into a couple other things as well. As basically we're going to go into his Legion trait. Very simple for Abaddon. The only Legion trait available to him, because he has a, he's got the Black Legion keyword already, is Black Crusader. This adds 1 to his leadership characteristic of Abaddon, which is not inherently useful to him because he actually ignores all morale tests due to his Mark of Chaos Ascendant. However, I believe there are abilities, let's think of, I think Mind War for Elder, which can cause wounds if you if you're leadership, you do a leadership roll off, and whoever gets better, you can suffer wounds due to it. This is just handy because you have that +1 to your leadership, and I believe you can go above leadership 10 now. I know orcs can because their leadership's ridiculous as boys. So cool, I'll need to check that, but I'm pretty sure it just make him leadership 11 for the purposes of some Mind War and things like that. Plus, if you've got if your opponent decides to debuff him to try and activate some of these abilities, then cool, you've got a +1. Handy. I need to check that leadership thing though. 90% sure that's right. And then there's the other ability of Black Legion, which is if a unit advances, it can treat its rapid fire weapons as assault weapons, which, as you know, Abaddon can benefit from this because he does have a rapid fire 2 weapon, which if he does decide to advance, then yeah, it becomes an assault 2 weapon. His weapon is deadly, it does D3 damage, -1 AP, only strength 4. If the circumstances do call for it, he needs to advance, then yeah, you have that option. However, overall I don't think it adds much, mainly because you kind of want him to charge and do more damage in combat. So if you're choosing to advance with him, I wouldn't see that as the best advantage. So, overall I feel like, this isn't the best way. I mean, he's going to get in combat anyway, either Land Raider, Deep Strike, or possible psychic abilities. I felt like the Black Legion trait, I've always felt like the Black Legion trait is a pretty poor one that I've not liked. I think it works well with Flamers, but for Abaddon it just doesn't add too much. Upsetting on that side, but that is the trait he has. So you just want to remember that +1 in case of any Elder trickery or whatnot, and also for his, in case he's gun, in case you decide to go down that route. Don't advise it though. Warlord trait. Abaddon, if he's your Warlord, and why wouldn't he be, you get 2 command points, and he is the War Master after all. Allows him and all friendly Black Legion units within 6 inches of the Warlord to activate Death to the False Emperor on a 5+. Add onto him or the unit around him prescience, and you're getting that a 4+. So with his 12 attacks, if you get the 12, if you get 6, then fine, but if you get potentially 12 attacks, you can get an additional possible 6 attacks, which can be devastating. So really good at prescience. That would be the only reason to use prescience, because he doesn't really benefit from it unless there's more modifiers against him, because he already hits in 2+. But if you're facing Imperial units, this is going to be great. Having Death to the False Emperor activating 5, absolutely fantastic, because you can want him in combat to benefit from that as well. The Imperial should quake at the amount of attacks he can potentially get, and the other forces are just going to feel bad for you because that Warlord trait doesn't affect them. So you Xenos players and other Chaos players are just like, that's all fun, glad I'm not Imperium. Psychic abilities. I might go on a wee bit here because he can actually benefit from a whole bunch, and stratagems as well, I'll get to that. But it's all down to the fact he's got all the abilities, all the marks of the Chaos Gods. So let's go. Abaddon can benefit well from the options with the Dark Hereticus discipline. It's a shame Zinch didn't bless him with a little psychic know-how. Anyway, keep in mind he has all the marks. If he had psychic abilities himself, oh boy, we could have some fun. So let's take into account prescience, warp charge 7. So he's already hit on 2+ nearly all the time, unless your opponent has a modifier. So this may not seem worth it. However, as I mentioned, it's possible to get Death to the False Emperor off on a 4+, which means that an extra 6 attacks is possible. So against Imperiums, this may be something to consider with him against him. Against other armies, not so much, unless they've got really something that can lower hits in combat, then think about it, but otherwise only if you're Imperium, and there's still other options out there as well. Diabolic Strength, warp charge 6, adding 2 to his strength characteristic and an extra attack, and I believe you can with double strength, yep. If mouse is select a Heretical Forces model within 12 inches of the psyker, so it can target him from another person. Basically adds 2 to strength and an extra attack as well. It's well worth it in Abaddon. Maybe I think this is Demon Weapon will now be strength 7, and the Talon of Horus should be, and I believe this is how it works, is that you add the strength and then times 2. Well, it says it adds to his base strength, so it should make him strength 6 times 2, 12. He'll be ripping apart vehicles a lot easier, especially those heavier ones like Land Raiders, etc. that have toughness 8 or above. He should be able to start doing more damage. And also another attack as well as a bonus. Can't complain. Not too bad, just adding that wee bit extra strength does make him a little bit more terrifying. And then the one I feel that's probably the most important in this list, and probably most important for a lot of Chaos players, is Warp Time. Do you know where you kind of want Abaddon? It's in your opponent's ranks, chopping folk apart. Do you know how you do that? You get him deep strike him with a sorcerer and a jump pack, or a sorcerer and Terminator armor, though jump pack is cheaper. And on a warp charge 6, move him further towards your opponent for a nice, I believe, 3-inch charge. Just pray you don't get those double ones, or you're going to be using a command point. Yep, even in Terminator armor, this guy ain't slowed down, because I think Terminator armor is usually movement 5. He's movement 6, so warp time will move him further towards him, which is excellent. Depending on what's there, he's going to rip them apart. Now, this is where we get interesting, as he has the keywords of all the Chaos Gods. You can technically cast any of their specific abilities on him. So we've got Weaver of Fates, warp charge 6, and you can grant Abaddon a 3-up invul, I believe. Yep, I think it's the maximum 3-up invul, they FAQ'd that. So yeah, 3-up invul, awesome. Just tank those shots a little bit more. Really good if if there's another character who loves to rip apart characters, well now you have a 3-up invul. They've got storm shields, you don't have one, you just act like you do. Miasma of Pestilence, warp charge 6, so Abaddon has just chewed through everything, and he's looking down a hail of firepower coming right at him, and he's not happy about this. Well, now your opponent has -1 to hit, and this is also both in shooting and close combat, in case they decide to get funny and try and charge him. Don't advise it. Pretty awesome as it'll deter plasma, as those guys will be supercharging and melting their own faces on 1s and 2s, except if they've got modifiers as well. But really handy on that side as well, because the last thing you want is just like a bunch of plasma coming his way. Delightful Agonies, warp charge 6. This is the Slanesh one. The last one, Weaver Fates, was each. Miasma Pestilence was Nurgle. This is the Slanesh one. Warp charge 6, ignore wounds on a 5+. Basically, you suffer a wound, roll a dice, and a 5+ ignored. Yep, that's pretty nice to have. Just all of them are pretty much survival options. Which is the best of the 3? I don't know. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on what is the best of the 3 when used with Abaddon, seeing how as he can benefit from all 3. I'm sure someone's done the math out there, and I'm sure there's a lot of calculations, but basically if I was to go for a bet, I would go with Weaver of Fate for 3-up invul, because it kind of works well for Magnus, so surely it can work well for Abaddon. I mean, Magnus rerolls 1s, but a 3-up invul is always super handy. Oh, and Khorne adds nothing to this because he doesn't do psychers. So yeah, that's the psychic abilities I think are best for Abaddon, getting a bit of advantage. If you've not got anyone marked up specifically, Diabolic Strength and Warp Time are key to get him into combat and cause more damage. Any of the other sort of Mark of Chaos specific ones will add survivability, and I would choose Tzeentch over any of them, but they all do add a little layer of defense. I think you could actually probably cast all 3 if you had different psychers, which if you do that, you win the game, I guess. You get all the abilities of the Chaos Gods. I don't know, I've not seen someone give Abaddon all 3, but I'm going to try it in one game, because that sounds actually a lot of fun, if not actually not very good. Stratagems recommended. Alright, so this is where even more fun stuff occurs, mainly due to, again, he has all keywords for all the marks. So what can you do with stratagems? Well, We have Veterans of the Long War, basically can be used by infantry and bikers in the shooting or fight phase, excluding renegades. So can't use them if you're renegades. I'm pretty sure that counts out Huron, which is a shame for you. And renegades have an awesome Legion trait rule, but you can't use this, and Veterans is very good. Basically adds 1 to your wound rolls during that phase. This can be useful for Abaddon in the shooting phase, mainly if you're firing on the multi-wound models. Usually you would need like a 4+ to wound if they're toughness 4, that becomes 3+, and if they're a bit weaker it becomes 2+. And that danger of getting D3 shots when you're D3 wounds when you're rapid fire, 2, meaning 4 shots, is kind of scary, and he hits him 2+ at rerolling as well. So you might do well with Veterans of the Long War and shooting. However, where this really shines is combat. Abaddon on average will be strength 5 or strength 6, which is okay against toughness 4, where you're wounding on 2s with the Talon. But in case you're against tough foes, then that +1 really help Abaddon just tear apart more damage, basically cause him to suffer more of his wrath. Just extremely handy to be frank on just about any unit in the Chaos Force, whatever one you find is like going to cause a lot of damage and maybe you're only wounding on 3s, you want to wound on 2s, and if you think, oh man, I just want to unleash more hell, then Veterans of the Long War is an absolute stellar stratagem. I think it's only 1 command point as well, which is a crime because it's awesome. It's only 1 command point, so you poor renegades, you don't get that one. Handy with Abaddon just to give him that little bit more push forward because he has so many attacks doing D3 damage at -3 AP. Yeah, so Veterans just to rip apart any other units a little bit more. Fury of Khorne for 3 command points essentially allows Abaddon to fight again in the fight phase. Did that unit not get obliterated? Messed up your demon roll from Draknian? Well, try again. As he is fighting again, I'd argue you get to roll the demon roll again. So roll a d6 each time Abaddon the Despoiler fights. You're fine again, so roll that dice again, see how many attacks you get. Generally this would really help Abaddon tear more opponents apart, so if you're in a mass combat, hopefully with things with like multi-wounds, just tear them apart again, just keep ripping them apart. Awesome, maybe a little pricey at 3 command points, but also why didn't you do the damage the first time? It's like his main job is to rip apart units. So yeah, 3 command points, he can go for round 2. Just remember that obviously if you did charge a unit and then you obliterated them and consolidated to another, you can't actually attack them again. You can only ever attack a unit you charged unless you were charged, then you can go nuts, but no one's going to charge Abaddon. Someone might, a Primarch might. Okay, we've also got Grandfather's Blessing. Abaddon just got in a hefty fight and suffered a few wounds. Cool, well now for 2 command points you can have D3 back. Maybe a bit expensive for 2 command points to maybe potentially get 1 wound back, but keep in mind Abaddon going on for an extra turn or 2 is awesome, and he also does half the amount of damage rounding up when he does suffer it. So it makes him more survivable, you want to keep him going, that's a good ability to have. And Endless Cacophony, hey that Talon putting out, in a turn 8 shots if you're in rapid fire range for 2 command points, may kill a few multi-wound creatures or perhaps a character if you're hunting them down by raining down shots. There will be situations where this may be called upon, maybe you want to shoot down a character or some kind of unit nearby and then charge another, so that maybe they don't synergize very well, then yeah, give that a go, you can, you've got the rules, it says you can. So yeah, it gives you a lot of abilities in that one as well, so add in Veterans of the Long War as well and make it more reliable. I think there's better units for Endless Cacophony, but you can, options. And then the final Chaos God one, the Great Sorcerer Tzeentch. Well, you're not a Psyker, so nope, thanks Tzeentch, you don't add anything here. Why can't you just give him 1 spell? That would have been really nice. I suppose we've got you to thank for probably the 4-up invul. Anyway, I'm guessing. Anyway, so with that, I've sort of discussed all the sort of matters of his warlord traits, stratagems and everything. That's sort of my roundup on Abaddon. There's a lot of options for him they've got there. He's an extremely killy character, he buffs units around him. Awesome, you know. So overall I really like Abaddon. He is exactly what he needs to be, a combat monster that buffs those around him and gives you command points. He'll punish a lot of those around him, and he has the mobility to move about and cause some problems. I think his biggest weakness, I feel, is that he has the Black Legion, you know, trait. You have to use that to field him and get the best out of him, because those rerolls only affect, friendly Black Legion units, so they have to be Black Legion as well. You know, that's not quite ideal, mainly just the way I play maybe. I also feel if you're using him, you need to choose your retinue carefully, because he works well if he is synergizing around people. If you do deep strike him in, then yeah, you want to make sure there's a unit around him that do benefit. I think he works really well with Terminators, deep striking in, possibly with Cotton Bay Plasma or other weapons. I think would be really good, and also good to protect him. And with his basically with his rerolls, makes that plasma danger less of a problem. And possibly with warp talons or other choppy units, might see some advantage when joining Abaddon into the fray. I'm going to end this segment really on sort of a discussion of Abaddon as a character and what I'd want to see from him in the future. So when I'm discussing this, what can I say? There might be quite a lot of you that disagree with me, but I feel now that we are moving on. Like, I've known, you know, sort of Abaddon in gameplay since I started well over a decade ago and further, you know, as a character, and I feel that now that we're moving on to bigger things with Primarchs coming out, is that I feel there needs to be a bit, and also he successfully did a huge amount of damage in the 13th Black Crusade, that there needs to be an evolution with Abaddon. Some of you may not disagree, some of you may disagree, because he is the pinnacle of what a Chaos Spaceman can do through absolute will, determination, vengeance and fury. You know, he doesn't need to be a Primarch, he is just, you know, a Chaos Spaceman who's driven to do all sorts of damage. So maybe he represents a lot more on that side. I feel he needs to move on a wee bit to reflect his absolute importance. If I was to go with anything, and I'm just saying my personal view, is that I would love to see him become, you know, although he's refused it a bunch of times, Demon Prince of some kind. Whether that be, you know, maybe the Primarchs have had enough, you know, Demon Primarchs have had enough of him, and they unite to take him out. Just basically, you know, he represents, you know, Horus and everything. They sort of blame him for where they are, and generally they don't like that he's so favoured in this way. And as they go to each, you know, he fights them off, and as they go to strike him down, you know, and you know, basically they prove themselves better than him. It took, you know, all the Demon Primarchs to bring him down. You know, the Chaos Gods, you know, laugh at these, you know, these sons of theirs that represent them, and he has been so, you know, faithful, not so much faithful to them, but what he has succeeded in doing over the past 10,000 years makes him a Chaos Demon Prince of basically the 4 Chaos Gods. Now, maybe Be'lakor might be representative of that in some way, or maybe he's just, you know, a Demon Prince undivided, because all Demon Princes really need to be assigned to a Chaos God. But I'd love to see Abaddon become the Demon Prince of the Chaos Gods and become some kind of monster to probably be better than the Primarchs, because the Chaos Gods have poured their favour into him, not because he's proved to be absolutely loyal to them, but because of the actions that he has undertook. I think that would be awesome. I think I might get a lot of backlash for that. A lot of people going nope, and other people might say no, nope, just kill him. Which is always an option as well, but I don't think that's the best one. I think there's potential for his character to really evolve into a much more bigger threat. He has done so much against the Imperium. I'd love to see him become, you know, ideally with an absolute ferocious figure as well, because that figure is older than some of the viewers probably. I would love to see that, so I think there's so much potential for him in the future. So thanks again for watching, hope you enjoyed. Did I get any lore stuff wrong? Did I get any rules wrong? Did you not enjoy my speculation of where Abaddon should go in the future? Let me know in the comments. Give us your view on what you think of Abaddon the Despoiler. comment, share, like and subscribe. Check us out on social media. We've got new forces hopefully coming out soon, and a whole bunch of projects and community posts as well. So thanks again, and we'll see you on another Tabletop Assault Battle Report.